Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we are making a very adorable top. It's going to be like the shell pattern for the bottom section and a halter top for the upper part. It's very beginner friendly, but if you don't know how to do the different stitches, I would recommend watching my ultimate beginner tutorial first so you can understand how to do them and then coming back to watch this video. Starting off with our materials, we have weight for acrylic yarn, a darning needle, scissors, and a 4.25mm hook. So in order to measure this top, it's a little bit weird. For our first row, where we're going to start the shell pattern after, we need to have a multiple of 8 plus 1. You're just going to add 1 to your multiple of 8 in order for the pattern to work. I will put that like formula on the screen so that you understand it a little bit better, but otherwise we can start off with our first row, which is going to be foundation, half double crochets. So starting off our first row, we're going to make a slip knot, put our hook in, and to start off those foundation half double crochets, we're going to chain 2, yarn over and go into the side 2 loops of the first chain, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 1, and yarn over, pull through 3. Then I like to tighten up this bottom part. And we're going to do the same thing. So yarn over, go into the side 2 loops, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 1, and yarn over, pull through 3. And so again, this row is going to be that multiple of 8 plus 1. So what I would honestly do is count your multiples of 8, and then once you reach that point that it feels like it's going to fit, just add your last stitch. So like essentially if I did 32 stitches, so 4 multiples of 8, and then I was like, actually this looks like it would be pretty good and I want to stop here, just add 1 more stitch, because then that puts me at 33, which counts as a multiple of 8 plus 1. So it's a little bit confusing, but I promise it'll work out. You just have to like count your multiples of 8 and then add 1 essentially. Okay, so I have my multiple of 8, and I'm just going to recount it one more time to make sure it is correct, and then I'm going to add my last stitch to make it my multiple of 8 plus 1. So I'm a couple short. I'm at 62 right now, and I'm supposed to be at 64, so I'm going to do my last 2 to make it the 8 multiple. So this puts me at 64. And then don't forget your last extra one. Okay. Now, what we're gonna do is chain 2, turn our work, and then we're gonna chain 1 extra. We're going to skip this first stitch and double crochet into the next one. Then we're going to chain 1, skip 1, and double crochet. Chain 1, skip 1, double crochet, and just continuing that down this entire row. Here is the end of your row. The one very important thing that you do here is that even though you just recounted to make sure everything would work, you want to do this last step to just triple check that the shell pattern will work. So you're going to count your first double crochets up to 5, and then after that you're going to count 4. So like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then now every single one it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you end off with a 4, you're set, the shell pattern is going to work. If you're ending off on any other number, either you got your first row wrong or you skipped something extra or didn't skip something in this row, because that's how your pattern should work. You should start off with those 5 and then have 4 for everything else after that. And then you're not counting your chain at the beginning because your chain is always just going to be your extra. You're only counting your double crochets, and then once that's set, you can move on to the next row. So now we're going to do another row that's identical to this. So chaining 2, turning our work, chaining 1 extra, double crocheting in the first double crochet. I think my camera cut off, but I'm not entirely sure. But after you do that first chain 1, skip 1 double crochet, you're just continuing that same thing down the entire rest of the row. So identical to our previous row right below, the only difference is that now we have clear spots to go into because we're always going into the double crochets. We're never going into the chains, whereas the last row we had to kind of like count to figure out where we need to go. And then at the end, you're going to do your double crochet into the double crochet. You're going to chain 1 and double crochet right into this gap here to make your last one. Now you're going to chain 2 and turn your work. And starting off the same way, chaining 1 extra, double crocheting in that first double crochet. But now we're going to skip the next double crochet and go into the one right after that with 7 double crochets. And they're all going to be going right into that exact same spot. After you've done those 7 double crochets, you're going to skip the next double crochet and go into the one right after that with a double crochet. So here's how it looks. We have these 2 that aren't being stitched into, and then these 3 that are. Now we're going to repeat that same thing, skipping the next one, going into the one right after that with 7 double crochets. Skipping the next one, going into the one after that with a double crochet. Same thing again, skip, go into the one after that with 7 double crochets, and then you're just going to repeat the same pattern down the entire row. Then if you did everything right, you should be able to skip your next one and go into the chain space as your last double crochet. And so after this, we're going to have the same pattern for the rest of our rows. We're going to do 2 rows with these chain 1 double crochets, and then we're going to do 1 shell stitch row. So alternating back and forth, and if you've got it from here, you're just going to keep repeating these until it reaches the length you want it to be. We are working from the bottom up. So this is going to be at the bottom of the top, and then wherever you reach to is going to reach right under your bust section. So the important thing is that you end off on 2 of these chain 1 double crochet rows, because after that we're going to transition to our bust section, and you don't want to have to do those bust section first rows into a shell stitch. But for anyone who still wants to stick along for a couple more rows, we're going to start off our next double crochet chain 1 row by chaining 2 and turning our work, and chaining 1 extra, skipping 1 and double crocheting, chaining 1, skipping 1 and double crocheting, and just repeating that across this entire row. And even though you're working into the shell pattern for part of it, just treat them like normal stitches and do your double crochets and chain 1s like normal, just like we did a couple rows ago. And then into your last ones, going into that last double crochet, chain 1 and double crochet into that chain space. And there we go. So now after this, we're going to do 1 more row of these double crochet chain 1s, and then we're going to go back and do another shell row. So chaining 2 and turning our work, chaining 1 extra and double crocheting into the next double crochet, chaining 1, skipping 1, double crocheting, and just repeating that same pattern across this entire row. And in that last spot, remembering to chain 1 and double crochet in the chain space. And there we go. So now we're going to start our next shell stitch. Or if you want to be done here, then just pause here and skip ahead to when I start the cup section. Otherwise, come along for the shell stitch and then you'll just be repeating until you reach the point that you want to stop. So chaining 2 and turning our work. Chaining 1 extra and double crocheting in the next double crochet. Skipping 1 and doing 7 double crochets into the following double crochet. Skipping the next one, going into the one after that with 1 double crochet. Skipping the next one and going into the one after that one with 7 double crochets. Skipping 1, going into the one after that with 1 double crochet. Skipping 1, going into the one after that with 7 double crochets, and repeating that this entire row. Right, so I'm all done with this row, and I will join you when I'm ready to start the cup section. But again, now you definitely need to do those next 2 double crochet chain 1 rows, and then you could stop, or you could do those 2 and then do more shell stitches. But just remembering that for however many shell rows you want to add, you also need to add those 2 chain 1 rows afterwards. So I will be back when I'm done with the bottom section. Okay, so I just finished my last double crochet chain 1 rows, and now we're ready to move on to the cup section. So for our first row, we're going to start off with the chain 2, turn our work, and then we're going to double crochet into every single stitch. So even in the chains, we're going to double crochet right into them just for a cleaner look instead of crocheting into the gap. And we're going to go all the way across this entire row with those double crochets. Okay, so now once you've finished your double crochet row, you are just going to need to count every single one of them, because we're going to need to figure out what half of that total number is. So for this, I would count our chains, even though at some other points we weren't counting them. For this, we are going to count them. Okay, somehow I have 67. I don't really know how I increased, but that's fine. So since I have an odd number, I'm just gonna have it and then round down. So technically I have 33.5 as my half, but I'm just gonna subtract that 0.5 and make it 33 for the simpleness of it. And that is going to be my size for each cup to start. And the way we're gonna do these is we're gonna start off with some normal rows of just going straight, and then we're going to start decreasing in and then make the strap. So as I'm working these cups, I'm going to be holding up to myself repeatedly to check the sizing of it, because while I want it to be able to decrease to that strap size, I also want it to be fitting, and that's why we're going to start not decreasing in the middle and then eventually start decreasing there, because then we can have a little tie in the middle that will kind of like make it more secure and not make like the V shape start too quickly. So I don't have any stitch markers, and you don't technically need one, so I'm just gonna grab my darning needle and put it in that 33rd stitch so I don't have to count. But if you don't have anything you want to put in the middle, you can just count up to that half number stitch so that you know that's where your first cup is ending. Okay, and it is right here. Let me actually go completely through. I'm just too lazy to go find a bobby pin since I don't have any stitch markers with me. But we're going to start off by chaining 2 on this row as well, turning our work, and then double crocheting up to that spot in the middle, so either the one that you marked or the one that you are counting up to. Okay, so now we are halfway across, and for the cup section, there is no set way you have to do it. So you can do however many rows you want where the middle is not decreasing, and then start making that like V-neck shape. The only thing is that like the longer you wait, the less space you have like for where it is on your body to start those decreases, and then like the strap might end up really big and that might not be what you're desiring. Or you can just kind of like next row start your decreases, but with that you just want to make sure that it's not decreasing too quickly. So the way that I make tops like this, where I'm just decreasing, I'm doing it all off of like feel and look. So I'm holding it up to myself after every row and seeing, does it make sense to put a decrease here or not? And if yes, then I'll add one. If not, I won't add one. But I do feel like for these first few rows, I'm not going to decrease, and then after that I'm going to start decreasing. So I will show you what I do exactly, but if you want to make it different, that's completely fine. I want it to be able to fit you, so if you do it exactly like me, it might not fit you. But either way, I will have you come along with me for this first cup, and then I will just do the second one on my own, and then we'll do the back ties and we'll be done. But for this first one, I will just show you how to do a decrease, even though I'm not going to start decreasing yet, just so that you know how to do one. Otherwise, you're chaining 2 and turning your work to just continue your double crochets, but again, like do it based off of what will fit on you. So I'm just going to do a couple of those double crochets to start off this row, and then in order to do a decrease, what you're going to do is yarn over like normal, go through the first one, yarn over, pull through, and then yarn over, pull through 2, and you'll have 2 loops left on your hook. Then you're going to yarn over again, go into the next stitch, go through, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Now you'll have 3 loops left on your hook, and now you yarn over and pull through 3. I'll show you one more time. Yarning over, going through, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, 2 loops left on my hook, yarn over, go into the next one, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, 3 loops left on my hook, yarn over and pull through those 3. So that is how you would do a decrease. Technically, you can do a decrease with more stitches than just 2. So like you could even do like 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches into one single stitch by decreasing them like that. But for this, since we have so many rows of this cup section, I would recommend just decreasing with 2 stitches and not anymore, unless you start getting really high up and you're like, okay, I'm running out of space, I need to start decreasing way more to shorten to the size of the strap. And for mine, my straps are going to be 3 stitches wide, but one of those stitches is going to be a chain. So technically 2 stitches and a chain wide. So once I'm getting up to that point, I'm going to make sure to decrease to that size. But regardless, at this point, I'm just going to be double crocheting across this row. I took apart those decreases, and I'm going to do probably 3 or 4, maybe even more of these rows where I'm not decreasing at the middle. But I might start decreasing on the outside. But again, I'll hold it up to myself and see what seems like a good idea. And we're always going to be putting our decreases on the edges of the rows so that it starts making that V shape, because if you put it in the middle like how I was showing you just as like an example, then the sides are going to stay like this. They're just going to like kind of start moving over, but it's not going to be like a clear diagonal shape. And I would recommend once you start decreasing to just do it every single row on the edge, because otherwise it's not really going to be, again, that like direct diagonal shape. Otherwise, we're just doing these double crochets for every row until we want to start decreasing. Once we start decreasing, we are decreasing at the beginning and end of each row until we get to the sides of the strap. And then I will show you how to make your strap. So I'm just going to keep doing these double crochet rows, and I will come back to you once I'm ready to start decreasing to show you how I'm going to incorporate my decreases. All right, I am going to start my first decrease on my 4th row just at the end of it, and I'm going to do it almost exactly like I did it before. But one thing I like to do when I'm decreasing is that I stop going into my chains, because I feel like it helps with that V shape. So now I'm 2 stitches and a chain away. So I'm going to yarn over, go into the first one, pull through 2, pull through 2, yarn over, next one, pull through 2, pull through 2, and pull through 3. Then I'm going to chain 2 and turn my work. And then now I'm going to be every row decreasing at the beginning and the end. And then at the beginning of my row, I don't want to go right into this first one. I'm going to go in the next one, because again, that helps with the V shape. And then I'm double crocheting across the row up to my last stitches where I'm going to do my decrease. And again, I'm not working into the chains anymore. Right, and now I'm going to do my decrease. And there we go. So now I'm just going to continue these rows of decreasing at the beginning and the end, and then once I get close to the point where I'm going to make my strap, I will come back to you. Alright, so I have reached the point where I want the straps to start, and I did end up doing a couple rows where I had 2 decreases on both sides, but I still was doing like a 2-stitch decrease. So at this point I have my chain, 2 decreases, 2 double crochets, and then a decrease. So no matter how many stitches you have on your last row before you want the straps to start, you're just going to kind of try and decrease within 2 to 3 rows after that to make it 3 stitches wide. But again, your 3 stitches wide means 2 double crochets and a chain. So what I'm going to do is chain 2 and turn my work. Do a decrease, and do another decrease, and that puts me at 3 stitches. So for my next row, I'm chaining 2, turning my work, starting my strap. I'm doing 1 double crochet into that decrease, and 1 double crochet into the chain. And there we go. Every row after this is going to be the same as that. So chaining 2, turning my work, a double crochet in the middle, and a double crochet in the chain. And so your straps can be like probably a minimum of 20 rows, but you can do it way longer than that, especially if you want to tie it in a bow. You're going to need way more length than that. But either way, you're just going to keep repeating these rows until it reaches the length that you want it to be. And you can always hold it up to yourself to try and see how good the length is, but you can also just kind of like err on the side of caution and make it a little bit longer than it needs to be, because then you have space to do the bow if you want it, and you have space to just like tie it off if you don't want the bow. Alright, and then to finish off my strap, I'm just chaining 1 and I can cut off my work. And then pull through. And then now we're just going to recreate that same thing on the other side. So for our first row, we're going to tie on our yarn right here. Put our hook through, then we're going to chain 2 and start our double crochets all the way across. And then one thing you can do if you had an odd total number for this like base row is just not crochet into your chain for this row, and then afterwards start crocheting into your chain again, because that gives us the same number for your first row of your cups on both sides by not going into the chain. And then you can either repeat your rows just by checking every time to see whether or not you decreased, or you can write it down like on a notes or whatever and be like row 1 double crochet, 2 3 4 double crochet, row 5 decrease on the inside, decrease on the outside, row 6 2 decreases on both sides, or whatever it ends up being, just so that you make sure you're doing the same thing. And then you're just going to work all the way up to this jump again and do that same thing. If you want some more like direct guidance, just skip back to when I was doing the first cup and watch that again, because I'm going to just join you back when I'm done with this cup and ready to add our back ties. Alright, I just finished my second cup, and I realized before we do the back tie, I want to do my middle tie. And the way that I'm going to do it is going to leave a little bit of space for like adjustability, because I want it to be where like if at some point I want to move it further down, I can. So instead of like tying my chain onto both sides, I'm just going to do a longer chain and then like loop it through so that I can have that adjustability. So I'm just going to make my slip knot and then chain 30. I actually want it to be a little bit longer, so I think I'm going to add like 20 more chains. And then I'm going to chain 1 extra and cut it off. And then now I'm going to go into that last row before I have my decrease. That's right here. And I'm going to loop my chain through. And then on the other side, I'm going to do the same thing. And I'm going to make a tie. But again, because it's not tied on to the panel itself, I can adjust it up and down, or I can like make it looser or tighter, which I like because it kind of lets you customize it a bit more. Then our last step is adding our back ties. So I'm going to go right on the bottom of this first double crochet row above my gap rows, and I'm going to tie on my yarn, and we're going to need to chain something pretty big. So I'm going to go probably about 75. Actually, I ended up doing these chains a little bit looser than I meant to, so I'm going to stop at 50, do my extra one, and cut it off. Going through. And then I'm going to go on the other side, bottom of my double crochet row. Tie on my yarn. Chain 50 again. Doing my 1 extra and cutting it off. Pulling it through. And then our actual last step is weaving in our ends. So I'm just going to show one example of weaving in ends, and then I'm going to do the rest on camera later on. But if you want a more in-depth tutorial to weaving in ends, I show that in my ultimate beginner tutorial as well. So the easiest way to thread your darning needle is lay the yarn over the top, pinch it and pull it off, and then wiggle it through the eye, and then you can pull it through. And then you're going to go through the tops of the stitches into the actual stitches, back the other direction, and then you can cut it off. And there we go, we are all done. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, make sure to let me know down below. If you make one of these, please make sure to tag me because I would love to see it. And make sure to check out my Depop for crochet stuff I'm selling. I might be selling this, I haven't decided yet, but make sure to look on there just to see. And otherwise, yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!